Shout out to my brother Emmanuel A for actually pointing this video to me. Apparently, PlayStation is or has been under the microscope of regulators for some game price manipulation. I don't know exactly what the details are, but Bailey News covered this about 3 weeks ago, and some of you have actually been asking, hey man, VG, you heard about the lawsuit going on with PlayStation? I only heard about it in passing, but I guess you guys didn't want me to keep going without actually taking a look at it. So shout out to you, bro, for pointing this out my way. Let's go ahead and, yeah.
Games cost 47% more than physical copies. And that's not a glitch. It is something that is by design. And yes.
Hold on. I guess I didn't start the video from the beginning. Hold on.
Digital PlayStation games cost 47% more than physical copies. And that's not a glitch, it is something that is by design. And yes, that figure completely shocked me as well. I did not think it would be that. Now, we'll get to its source soon, but here's what matters for today's story. PlayStation just paid $7.8 million to settle just one lawsuit about this, but more have kept coming. Now, consumers and regulators in 5 countries are attacking what they call the Sony tax. Essentially, they're targeting PlayStation's walled garden, the one that restricts where you can buy digital games. And the thing is, it's not like this for other big platforms. It's not like this for Xbox. It's not like this for Nintendo. And these consumer groups think that this restriction means you are paying way more for games than you should.
Now, here's my thing, though. And, whew, okay, corpos are mad, they're evil, they're bad, and all that. But one thing about this society, the economic structures that we have, is that there's some semblance of competition. Now, I'm not naive to think that they're all like fighting tooth and nail. I mean, sometimes they'll collaborate. Sometimes they hold, a hegemony or just a stranglehold because there are a few of them that controls the economies of scale in a specific segment. However, I think customers have a responsibility to themselves to actually be the ones to speak with their wallets as the primary means so that they can control within. Because if these settlements all go out, who's to say that PlayStation is not going to find another way to continue what in the heck it's doing? In fact, just today, there was a tweet here, and I made a tweet about it, and this is from Hazard Gaming Dragon of Dojima. It's under my replies. No, it's going to be under my post, sorry. And Hazard Gaming Dragon of Dojima said, did PlayStation app get rid of the sort by lowest to highest price? I can't see it. Right? This was actually funny. A lot of people said, yeah, I checked and it's not there. Now, it could be a glitch or it could be intentional for you to not be able to sort your games and buy the cheaper games, but they want you to buy the more expensive games, which gives them a bigger cut. So the users, right, they see these things firsthand. Regulators may never, ever, catch something like this, and they'll be fighting some battle that PlayStation can, or any other of these companies can underhandedly go ahead and, in a sense, corner by these little tactics that they use to control their platform. So the customer at the end of the day is going to have to, deal with that by going to a much more customer-friendly platform. I recommend PC, as there are different providers within the space, and every single one of them, you can learn about their quirks and leverage exactly what it is that they have to offer you. If you're in a locked box, this is where stuff like this can hit you. Even if you don't leave PlayStation per se, having a side, platform there's nothing wrong with that. Especially with the way these companies are so money hungry, even though they make billions of dollars each year.
So they're taking PlayStation to court. And PlayStation is taking these challenges seriously. In December of last year, they paid out millions to American gamers, and that is just to make one lawsuit go away. But unfortunately for Sony, these lawsuits keep multiplying. PS4 was winding down, the PS5 was gearing up for release, and PlayStation sent out a memo to all legitimate retail stores. And the message was clear: no more digital codes for game sales. Now, you could still buy PSN cards, right, to load up your PSN store account with currency, but you could not buy a digital copy of a game anywhere except from PlayStation's own store.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't see. This is why I don't mess with this company anymore, man. This is why I dine with a long spoon. And I'm not saying anybody that's with them, is doing anything wrong. I just have much of a lower tolerance for shenanigans, than a lot of people. It's just how I am. I get it. I get it.
This would mean that in a physical store, you can only buy a physical game disc. And with this one decision, what Sony did is create a walled garden, or at the very least, make the one that they sort of had way stronger. And this is one that creates very specific market conditions. So here's how it works for physical PlayStation games. Regular market rules apply. You can purchase them directly from PlayStation, or you can buy from a third party. PlayStation may not do a discount that often. Would they really have an incentive to? But what about third parties? Well, they want to get rid of stock. They want to get more sales. So they'll compete against the other stores. And what that means is the games that they carry will decrease in price over time. The market will evolve, and it will essentially discover the fair market value for games far, far, far faster because of this lovely thing called competition. It's good for me, it's good for you. But with digital games, with Sony's rules, it's a bit of a different story. Now, digital makes up more than 2/3 of PlayStation's market releases in Europe in 2024. And remember,
this is them trying to hedge one of their most profitable pieces in terms of, earnings and, income. They want to hedge it. I remember Gotham Knights, okay? And shush. You're like, oh, Gotham Knights again. Hush, sit down. I remember when I actually went to get this copy of the game, it was a digital copy for Xbox. I bought the Steam version on CD keys for $45. But now I didn't know that this copy was Play Anywhere. I did not know that. But I went to GameStop. I traded in some old discs that I had, physical games, right? Everyone said, oh, my physical game. Man, when did you touch that library of physical games last? I'm sure there's one game that's gathered dust for a decade that's in that collection. Anyways, I went ahead and I, traded them in, and I paid for this version of Gotham Knights. And they sold me a digital code, and I went back home and I redeemed it. To me, if Xbox puts a policy like that, they're dead to me. Immediately, that's it. Because GameStop also, I think, can do Steam codes as well or something like that. They sell Steam gift cards. But that kind of a piece of trade, to me, is a very dangerous piece. This company's always wanted to basically control a lot more in terms of the economies. That's probably, now it makes more sense why they focused in trying to make Xbox irrelevant. I may not finish this video, but man, these first few minutes are already telling, in regard to how they run their business. And if you want to watch a full video, I recommend you go to Bella's, channel and, look up PlayStation ripped off millions. Now they're paying. Okay.
They're only available directly from PlayStation. That means that market pressures evaporate. Consumer options evaporate. They vanish. They do not.
Yes, PlayStation is that platform of very minimal options. I mean, I have one. I have a PS5 sitting there. It really is that platform. I mean, if I did not build myself a gaming PC to make YouTube videos back in 2016, man, I would have still been gaming on PlayStation as if to say, man, this is the option that I have. But once I built a PC and I went and bought the Arkham games for $3, I was like, what? I had never seen them that low on the PlayStation Store, and the games were already old at the time. But I go on Steam, and I look around, and I'm looking at the digital storefronts and all that, and I'm looking at these old games so cheap because there are options, because there are other ways to basically acquire most of these games, right? I said to myself, man, there's just no way I can justify continuing to pay these guys money when there are options out there that will save me money.
Not exist. And this is a problem that actually doesn't exist on Switch, Xbox, or even PC. Even in principle.
Is that right?
Those platforms allow for alternatives, but not PlayStation. And it's all because of that one 2019 change. Both consumers and regulators are kind of furious about the decision, and the most recent expression of that fury is this whole thing where people are calling it the Sony tax.
Yeah. Pundits, where are all of you? Every time Xbox sneezes, you guys are the first. I have not seen many people talk about this. What are the comments saying? What is this? Nah. Hey, if you're a PlayStation fanboy or fan that likes to bother me in my comment section and I don't see you talking about this, you're a fraud by default. because now you know. If you don't know, I'll still point it to you. You must make sure that your own ecosystem is looked at carefully, because a lot of you are false experts of Xbox. I mean, you try to say things about Xbox in many cases, and you don't know jack squat about the platform and the ecosystem. And someone like me who uses PC, starting to discover that this ecosystem on Xbox, as the way they behave on console and PC, is almost akin to what Steam does, that makes a lot of PC gamers like it. And so when we look at it, we comment on it, we talk about it, we say, this is actually cool. But you see PlayStation fanboys jumping over the weaknesses that PlayStation could actually improve upon. And this is why I started talking about this stuff in my channel. I've always said that PlayStation was not a competitive platform because it depended on the fact that a lot of people are still going to go ahead and buy whatever it is that they have to sell, right? But if people are going to be doing that, a majority of, PlayStation gamers are going to be doing that, they can't complain about Xbox. Like, they really have no grounds to complain about Xbox. That's not just, my stance or a take. That's based on the fact that it's more than even, worse, that the hypocrisy sits there and they won't say anything. This should be the biggest story, rather than every single minute I turn around, I see one more Game Pass is bad for the industry, freaking article out there. That's just wild. That if what he's saying here is true in terms of, the regulators and everybody focusing on PlayStation because of their price, gouging, or their, desire to try to control all their pricing, then it's absolutely nonsense. Absolutely nonsense. I'm out, man. Talk to me in the comment section. I appreciate your time and audience, and hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.